Hello and welcome to yet another Ghost of Tsushima Legends video. In this one, I'm going to be ranking the legendary items in the game, based on the item type, of course, and we're going to be ranking them from worst to best. This is going to be obviously my opinion. There will be a few caveats in here based on the fact that some of these items seem like they were made for specific classes to function very well on those and not others, especially since some of them are class specific, but you'll see those when we get there. So let's just start out with the katanas. So coming in at number 5 as the worst katana out of the legendaries is going to be MASAMUNE'S Edge, or MASAMUNE'S Edge if you fancy. It's got a wind stance, and it says melee has 20% chance to deal double damage. This is still a pretty good weapon. The wind stance is kind of what takes it down here. If it had a water stance, it would probably be very, very good because you could get Water Master perk on it, and it would be ridiculous. You can still get the water stance on it and use the 20% chance to deal double damage in the water stance, but just because it's wind stance, it's not very good. If it was water, it'd be much, much better. And then coming in at number 4, that's going to be Master's Katana. All this does is allows you to switch between any stance. So it's still a very versatile, very useful. It could be even the best if you're good at utilizing it, but it doesn't provide the same benefits that some of the other katanas higher on this list do. Much like the number 3 one. That's going to be Stone Striker. Stone Striker is a stone stance katana, and it has something called an improved Heavenly Strike. Now, it's not like the Heavenly Strike in the base game. It still costs 1 resolve. It still costs 1 resolve, like the one in the Samurai, but it's a different type. First, you have to break the guard of someone, stagger them, and then you can use the Heavenly Strike, and basically what it is it's essentially an execute, to even doing more damage than the super stealth attack that the assassin has. It's a very, very good feature to have. Stance is stone, so could be better, but it's not the worst stance. It's not wind, which is definitely one of the worst stance. It's definitely the worst stance, but it's followed by stone. Coming up after that, the number 2 spot is going to be YOSHITSUNE'S Hand. YOSHITSUNE'S Hand is a water stance katana, and its special effect is that it can be staggered. Enemies that you stagger with this weapon have a 30% chance to be knocked down. It's a pretty good katana. It's knocking enemies down, opens them up for massive damage. This doesn't affect brutes or oni, so that's part of the reason why it's not number 1. It's a very, very, very good bonus to have, and it's a water stance, so it's very easy to break guards with this. But it is outshined by the number 1 katana on this list. That's going to be the Demon Cutter. This has a moon stance. This one has staggering a target, has a 30% chance to throw nearby enemies. So basically imagine about 30% of the time when you stagger a target, a concussive bomb going off on your body. It's just throwing nearby enemies away. Now, alone that doesn't sound very good, but it can be incredible when you combine the Moon Stance Master, the Moon Master perk, because you get to do the held heavy attack, the spinning attack. You get to combo that 3 times, and the third one does even more damage. And you'll break most guards in 1 or 2 hits, depending on what enemy you're fighting, as well as doing damage through the guards because it's the heavy special. It's a very, very good weapon to combine with some of these things, and it can essentially combo an Oni to death, unless it's one of those Oni that just doesn't like to be staggered ever. But it's still a very, very good weapon, and that's why it's at number 1. Okay, so we're going to now move on to ranged. The ranged is where it's going to get weird. There is only 1 weapon that in this one that can be used on all classes, and that is the short bow, the Weightless Spirit. The thing that this one does is the arrows don't descend, so you don't have to arc your arrows or anything. You can just snipe them with a short bow. It's pretty good. It's very, very helpful for those challenges where you have to get 10 kills on a slack line, so you don't have to be drawing down or anything. It's very, very good. This is what I chose as better than some of the other ones on here, but we'll just go through them. Next up is going to be the longbow. It's the stone skipping bow. This is easily the best ranged weapon on this list. This is range hunter only, and what it does is headshots ricochet to nearby targets. This only goes to one target, so if you get a headshot, it'll hit 2 people in the head, and it's a longbow, so headshots do more damage. Thing is, it doesn't just have to be headshots. This includes it also includes things like special ammo, but it means your ultimate ability, the Eye of YOSHITSUNE. If you have 3 or 5, you'll instead hit 6 or 10 with this, because that's technically a headshot. And any kills with a pinpoint technique, the one where half your body shots become headshots, that also triggers the stone skipping bow, as well as the ammo return on headshot. When using this bow, it will give you 2 arrows back when you shoot 1. It is a very, very good bow. If you're running a hunter, you need this bow, and you should never switch off of it. Okay, for the next ranged is going to be the blow dart called Heaven's Sting. It's got a 20% chance to instantly kill non-Oni targets. That is it. This is Assassin or Assassin and Ronin only. It is the most lackluster of these. Just a simple 20% chance to instantly kill some of the weakest enemies in the game. Of course, it applies to brutes, but that's not going to be the biggest concern when you're especially on like later difficulties like Nightmare. It's just going to be just a lot of Onis, and killing one target 20% of the time is not going to be the best thing in the world. Especially since most of the time you're going to be using the blow dart for the poison or weaken effect, or especially the hallucination darts, which is the only thing you should be running on blow dart. And then the last one is the bomb pouch. This is forbidden medicine. Bombs heal allies. This is Ronin, the Ronin ranged. It's pretty good. It fits with the Ronin class well. It just gives you the ability to essentially be a drive-by healer. You can just run by, just go throw a bomb and heal your teammate if they're down. It's definitely not as good for dealing damage as the short bow, but I would say if you are running Ronin, you should probably be using this. If you're running Hunter, you should use the stone skipping bow. If you're running anything else, you should be using the Weightless Spirit if you want your bow to be the legendary. If not, this doesn't matter. But you should definitely, no matter what, be running the stone skipping bow on Hunter. This should be your legendary. It is that good. Alright, now moving on to charms. These charms are actually going to be in the list. Okay, so the worst charm on this list is going to be number 5, Sacred Iron. Enemies that deal melee damage to you have the weaken applied to them. The weaken effect. It's a nice effect. Enemies that hit you are now weaker, they take more damage, deal less. It's pretty good, but the fact that they have to hit you instead of maybe barely missing you, getting parried by you, that's what makes this a lackluster charm. Because the fact that you have to take damage for the special property to work, it just makes it counterintuitive. Especially since you're going to be not getting this until you hit much later levels in the game. Alright. Number 4 is going to be ENJO'S Remorse. 15% bonus damage while at full health. It's pretty good. You guys do more damage while you're at full health. If you're very good at the game, very good at not taking damage, this can last you a while. But especially considering how scarce healing is in this game, especially if you're not running something like a healing gourd, you're going to be rarely using this, especially in later rounds of survival. It's good, but it's not as good as it could be. Alright, coming in at the middle of the pack, number 3, Shogun's Fortitude. This gives you immunity to the flash and the poison effect. Sounds like it should be the best, nothing can be better than this on paper. But that's until you realize that specifically like the poison effect doesn't really affect you all that much unless you are getting hit by an arrow in certain missions, story missions, or on like boss rounds of survivals, very specific ones. And flash, it is very helpful, but it's not as useful as it could be. It's very situationally extremely useful, but there's other better ones. However, if you have this, definitely run it. It's not going to hurt. Alright, coming in at number 2 is going to be BENKEI'S Last Stand. 15% chance to negate arrow damage. This is honestly crazy, because just straight up saying no to arrows. This has a caveat You should not be running this on something like Samurai, especially if you have the deflecting arrows perk unlocked and you're using that. You should not be using this on Samurai. But the thing it does do is if it's a poison arrow that's getting shot at you, it just negates it, deflects it. You're not poisoned. It's a very useful charm. It's pretty good, but it's not nearly as good as this last one, which is Last Breath. Now, what Last Breath does is it says, instead of taking fatal damage, you are healed for 50 health, which is about half base health in the game. And this can occur once every 5 minutes. Basically, if you take fatal damage from an enemy, you revive at half. You just don't drop, you go to half health. It doesn't matter how much damage you take to go under, you should go straight to half health. It's a very, very powerful charm. It should be used on almost anyone. And yeah, this is why it's the best. However, there is one caveat I want to say for the worst charm on this list, Sacred Iron. It is very, very good on tank build Samurai. Extremely good, because you can just run in to a big group of enemies, pop your ability that heals you over time, and then just take damage and let all of them get weakened, and then your team comes in and just cleans them up. It's very good. I would still take Last Breath over it, in my personal opinion, but it's still very good and can be used to great effect. Alright. Coming up next are the Ghost Weapon 1s. These are the offensive Ghost Weapons, and in the worst one is going to be Lady Sanjo's Surprise. This is the Dirt Throw. A 50% chance to cause enemies to hallucinate. The reason I don't think this one deserves this one, the reason I think this is the worst of the three in this list is because it doesn't work very well with something. It only works with one of the other major perks, and that's Lucky. Because if you use the other two, you're basically giving them the weaken effect, or you're setting them on fire. And you don't want to do that to someone that you have just hallucinated, basically added to your team. You don't want that to happen. It essentially negates the entire effect. So the fact that it forces you to play in one specific style makes this one not as good as it could be. But then coming up next, number 2 is going to be the Kunai, which are Spirit Kunai. If you get a kill with these Kunai, it lowers all the cooldowns on your character by 15 seconds. This is great. It is a great weapon. The only thing is Kunai kind of suck. They don't behave very well. They're not very good at. It's very difficult to aim them. And sometimes it feels like they're locking on and you can't miss. Other times you feel like you're pointing directly at the enemy, and they all just completely go in the opposite direction of what you want them to. But it is very, very good if you get kills with this, because you can essentially be a spam caster in this game if you have this and you use it all the time. If you get lucky on this, or something like Deep Pockets, or not Deep Pockets, the one that gives you more Kunai, you can lower cooldowns by a lot. You constantly casting abilities. It's a very, very good. It's very, very good. It would be better on something like Dirt Throw, if Dirt Throw could kill, but it can't. Alright, and now for the best, it's going to be the Sticky Bomb, the Touch of Heaven. This is a Sticky Bomb that also heals allies. This is just safe. It's very good. You're going to be using Sticky Bomb almost on cooldown in fights near your team. It just doesn't hurt to have extra healing added on to that. To be fair, I also wouldn't recommend using one of these ghost weapons over, say, a katana or like a bow or even a charm. These are not the best legendary items in the game, but Sticky Bomb is the best of these ghost weapons. And now moving on to the final category, Ghost Weapon 2. Ghost Weapon 2, number 3, the worst of Ghost Weapon 2 is the support, or the defensive ghost weapons, is going to be Mist of Yagata. Mist of Yagata is the smoke bomb that just heals allies. It's good. It's a bit of a longer heal than, let's say, the Ronin ability, but it's just a smoke bomb that can heal. We have so many of these other things on this list that can heal, so it's not the best. As well as there's something else on this list that just does it better. That's number 2, KENJI'S Shared Brew. It's just a healing board that also heals nearby allies when used. It's an instant heal. If you have Strong Brew, it's even more healing. If it's on a Ronin who has the ability to that has 50% increased healing. It's a lot of weak healing instantly. It's just better. And then leaving the last one, so if you know what this one is, it doesn't come as a surprise. The Caltrops Demon Seeds. This applies the weak effect on enemies. This is the best ghost weapon legendary in the game. Possibly top 3 of just legendaries in the game in general. Because not only do Caltrops slow and cripple enemies, now that it's weakened, you can also use Fired Up on this, and some weaker enemies will get one shot by stepping on a Caltrop because of how this works. And this is very, very good for especially those rounds in survival when you have to do the bonus mission, kill enemies with fire. This is very, very good for that. Yeah, and it also stun locks like things like Oni on gold. This is a ridiculous ghost weapon. That's why it's number 1 on this list. So yeah, going back down these lists is a quick recap. The best of each. The number 1 katana is going to be the Demon Cutter, especially with the Moon Master, perk. The best ranged weapon is going to be Weightless Spirit, the short bow, unless you are a hunter, in which the skipping stone bow is going to be better, or unless you are a Ronin, in which case you should probably be running with Heaven's Sting. Forbidden Medicine. The best charm in the game is going to be Last Breath. It just gives you basically a free revive on yourself, unless you are a samurai, in which case Sacred Iron, you can make an argument for it. The best offensive ghost weapon is going to be Touch of Heaven, the Sticky Bomb. It just heals allies, and the best defensive ghost weapon is going to be the Demon Seeds. I hope you like this. I hope you enjoyed this list in this video. It was kind of fun to make. Now I have to edit it and get a bunch of at least pictures for this. All right.